Geek Gab with your hosts, Dorrinal, Brian Niemeier, and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. That's right, Geek Gab for Sunday, November 29th, 2015. Believe it or not, Geek Gab has been on the air, save for that short 4-month hiatus earlier this year. We've been on the air for a year now. We started this show, me and Dorrinal, over a year ago. Can you believe that?
That's incredible. I didn't bring a party hat or anything. This is a momentous occasion.
It was stunning to me when I thought, hey, I should check that out. I should see how long we've been on the air. And, yep, over a year ago, we sat down and we talked about the Fast and the Furious franchise. We talked about John Wick. And we talked about Toys for Tots for Christmas. That was our first episode, back when we were doing hour-long shows.
Oh, wow. And we're still talking about John Wick.
I know.
We picked up the Blu-ray of John Wick and the Raid Redemption while they were on sale online. And I've got my dad up here for the holiday, and we had to show him them because he loves his action movies. And do you know what he had to say at the end of John Wick?
What?
You're going to love this. He said, "There's no way that this guy lives in a multi-million-dollar home, this professional assassin for years, and has such a shitty or non-existent alarm system that these guys broke in and killed his dog." That was his summation of the movie. Spoiler alert.
No, that's a good point. I will say that's a fair point. Unless the thugs are, unless the thugs dived in and managed to disarm all the alarms on the at the house, or he forgot to set it out of grief for his poor wife's unfortunate demise. He forgot to turn on the alarm that night. That makes sense.
So many spoiler alerts. So that's how my Thanksgiving week has been. What about our one of our early guests who we converted?
No, wait. There's one other thing. They're shooting John Wick 2 right now. They have already begun.
Why are they doing that?
Because they're making another one. That shooting footage typically precedes making another one. I'm confused by the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not sufficiently jaded by Hollywood yet.
Oh, we'll soon cure you of that.
I will tell you what, my loving appreciation for Hollywood has taken a horrendous knock in the last 2 years. Because I'm reading news like every single night to come up with a post for my blog, and every single night it's stupid remake, pointless reboot, mindless retread, and it's just it's deadening inside. It's got to be like reading the crime blotter 24/7, where you live in a big city and all you read about is murders all the time. You're gonna get kind of apathetic. You're gonna get kind of calloused in your soul. The millions of tiny little wounds accumulate over each other, and reading about all the stupid stuff Hollywood is doing does the exact same thing with regards to entertainment.
Have either of you guys seen Red Letter Media's interview with Max Landis?
No, but that was going to be my post for Monday. I mean, yes, I have seen it. When I said no, what I actually meant was yes. What I actually meant was yes. I have seen every single minute of it. That's what I meant when I said no. I meant yes, in case that was unclear.
You've been reading
in case you weren't smart enough to get it, I want to clarify my no there. It meant yes.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Well, it's going to be my post for tomorrow. That's what tomorrow's post is supposed to be.
Yeah, that explains why Dorrinal still has some shred of faith in Hollywood. But yeah, I wrote about it a little bit earlier this week, and I've been delving more into the seedy underbelly of Hollywood in the run-up to the new Star Wars movie, because something just hasn't felt right about it ever since Disney got involved. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but looking at it more and more, it's basically that Hollywood represents our makers of culture. They are, by definition, our cultural elites, and something interesting has happened that only happens in late-stage decadent civilizations, which is that our elites actively hate us. They hate the people they rule, which can actually... Yeah, in another nod to Red Letter Media, they just reviewed Creed and Victor Frankenstein, the latter of which was written by Max Landis. And at one point, Mike and Jay go through the screenplay, and there's a line that Landis wrote in there where he describes the dude who funds Frankenstein's research as being sophisticated and dressed in only the finest posh clothes and speaks with such an upper-class accent that he makes Dr. Frankenstein sound like he's from Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just that whole, the knuckle draggers of the flyover states will take what we give them and be thankful for it kind of mentality. And yeah, it's just Hollywood is totally out of touch with what's going on in the majority of the country, and so they don't even know that they're force-feeding a very insular worldview down our throats, and it is going to come back to bite them.
Well, there's a guy I read who actually was a writer and a TV producer for a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and he's worked with a lot of Hollywood people, so he's intimately familiar with that milieu. And what he said is this: network executives, who are the people making all of the higher level creative decisions about who gets funded and what, they are all from an intensely tiny subculture. That in order to become a network executive nowadays, unless you buy the studio yourself, unless you're rich enough to just buy the studio outright, you have to literally be going to the right schools from the time you're in preschool. Go to the right schools from the time you're in preschool. Go through the right schools all the way up through college, have the right friends, graduate from college, have your family pay $30,000 to $50,000 to get you an internship at a studio where you're not getting paid anything. Your family is paying tens of thousands of dollars to get you a job where you slave for free at a studio, and eventually you can move up into a lower level executive position. It is, in order to become president of the United States today, you have to start planning your resume from the time you're in preschool. It is actually harder to become a network or a studio executive today than it is to become a politician with a credible shot of becoming president of the United States. It's harder to become one of the decision makers in Hollywood than it is to become president.
Which tells you something about where the real power is.
One of the columnists I like to read occasionally likes to point out when questions of political speech come up in money, and I promise this is going somewhere related, is that he likes to juxtapose the amount of money spent on, for example, political campaigns with the amount of money that people spend on, say, Halloween candy, which is, orders of magnitude larger. It's just funny to think about that yeah, actually, movie studios do have more power in a sense.
Great point.
So yeah, it is amazing, and they all have the same opinions on politics. They have the same opinions on culture. They all have the same opinions on entertainment, and all of their opinions are so completely divorced from what normal Americans go through. It's an aberration to have people. I mean, an aberration on the order of Marvel. Marvel doesn't have this same network or studio execs right now because Marvel started their own studio. And so they put Marvel people in charge. And now they've gotten bought by Disney, where Disney's going to be making a lot of the hiring decisions. Eventually, you're going to see these same people from this tiny, insular West Coast clique get into positions at Marvel, and Marvel's quality, I predict, when that happens, will go downhill.
Oh, Totally, I completely agree. I mean, look at Star Wars. Look at some of the bizarre choices that I'm convinced came top down from Disney, because there's no way they're going to go laissez-faire and let their lower level operators decide anything to do with Star Wars. I mean, when they handed Aftermath to Wendig, okay, who is a fine writer, but he's not the first guy I would think of to kick off the newest chapter in this beloved pop, basically schlock light space opera franchise. I mean, I would have given it to like Anderson or Zahn or Stackpole or someone. And I mean, just look at the backlash over just the bizarre writing that reads like it came out of some sort of literary workshop or something. You know, like the places Daddy Warpig is talking about. You know, where all the darlings of Big Five New York publishers, you know, learned to write about sad polar bears.
Okay, so you're gonna have to back up. Aftermath is a Star Wars novel.
It is the first official novel in the new canon.
Okay, so everything else from the extended universe that came after Return of the Jedi has been disconned. It's now non-canon, discontinuity.
Correct.
Okay, so Aftermath is the first novel that came out for the new, leading up to The Force Awakens.
Correct. It officially bridges what took place in the new continuity between Jedi and Force Awakens.
Okay, and who was it written by?
Chuck Wendig.
Oh, I caught the edges of that because I just started reading blogs that covered it as it was fading away. He did some stuff that some people weren't happy about, and he did some other stuff that nobody cared about, but everybody wanted to think people weren't happy about.
Yes, he wrote it in a really weird, almost Faulknerian stream of consciousness style. It does not let itself.
Stream of consciousness, because that James Joyce is so perfect. Ulysses is the absolute prototypical template you want to build Star Wars around.
Yeah. I'm going to let you and Dorrinal discuss for a minute here while I look up a sample of Aftermath here.
Oh, what a bunch of... Well, okay, when you had to take English class, did you, Dorrinal, when you took English class, did you ever have to read, like, James Joyce or Ulysses or anything like that?
I don't recall reading those.
Okay. Stream of consciousness, it's basically like if you've ever sat near somebody who absolutely has to say absolutely everything that enters into their mind.
Sure, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, that's what stream of consciousness writing is in. And I'm not saying that makes Ulysses a bad book. I'm not saying it's trash. I'm not saying it should be thrown in the, trash heaps of society. I'm just saying if you're writing a Star Wars book, that's not some distant tie-in novel. That's not some, not like the entire anthology series they had that literally took every single monster in the entire cantina scene from Star Wars and gave them a backstory. Literally an anthology they published did that. It was chock full of every single character. They just picked one up. Oh, that guy that looks like the devil, here's what I imagine his backstory might be. This isn't one of those books. This isn't something you're just making to toss away. This is something major that's linking the Lucas movies, the original 3 movies, to Force Awakens. You should not be writing it in stream of consciousness. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I mean, if it's effectively some sort of exposition to, set the stage or create a setting, then I agree.
That just gives me a headache just thinking about it. I can't imagine why you would do that. I mean, I could think of a dozen different authors who might make a great Star Wars book. Because in my mind, and I guess this is just me, I'm not a publisher. I'm not in charge at Disney. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you want a Star Wars novel, what you absolutely need is someone who is ace at plotting and someone who is ace at writing action scenes. You want great action scenes, and you want great plotting, and someone who can also do some good science fiction. That would all be primary qualities to put in a new Star Wars novel. I don't see why you would go with a literature approach. This is not a book you're submitting for, I don't know, the Newbery Medal or something. This is a book that's meant to go into drugstores across the country and airports across the country that somebody might see and be interested in and just happen to pick up.
It's putting lipstick on a pig. It's this is pulp fiction, not fancy literature.
And you want people who are good at that. You want... Oh, I just got a headache. I don't understand. That makes no sense to me. I literally cannot conceive of what they were trying to do. I mean, were they trying to win literary awards with this? I could see that with like the 50th book you're publishing. You might go for the literary approach as kind of a change of pace, but the very first one that you're very first establishing, that'd be like taking Iron Man when it came out in 2010 and having, Jim Jarmusch or Wes Anderson or one of those other guys direct it instead of the guy who made Swingers. It makes no sense to me. Jon Favreau, who did it with the superhero flair because it's an action superhero movie. You're not making a Wes Anderson movie. You're not making a Coen Brothers movie. And I love the Coen Brothers films. True Grit was brilliant. I've seen many of their films. I've seen most of their films, but they're not who you would pick to launch the new Iron Man that was launching the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes.
Yes, you're trying to figure out him. Is there something in what he said that I think is wrong? Is he being confusing somewhere? So,
okay. So I found a couple of excerpts from some reviews of the book, and it has 37% one-star reviews, which is the majority of them.
Oh.
So, here are actual sentences from Star Wars Aftermath, and no offense to Chuck Wendig, he's written some other good, like kind of edgy cyberpunk stuff, but yeah, horrible mismatch for the genre, like Data Warpig said. So okay. Thunder booms like cannon fire outside, like ships in the sky tearing one another apart. Flashes of lightning like fire. Period.
What?
Yeah. Wires dangle in his face like the face tentacles of a corn dentist.
Guys, to borrow a phrase from the internet, I cannot even.
I know. I can't even harder.
Is there some more? I want to hear some more of this.
I'll keep looking.
Oh no, okay. I was actually legitimately thinking of just going onto iBooks and buying the book and see if I can just to start reading random pieces from it on the air. We don't have enough time for that, but for like a minute there, when I wasn't talking, I was thinking, I wonder if I bought this. If I could just read like a whole paragraph picked out of random from the middle of the book.
Wow.
I might have something for you here. Because I remember reading a review that had a long excerpt. Yeah, here, I don't want to spend too much time on it. You can always post it later.
You said that he did cyberpunk fiction?
He's done a bunch of different stuff. I looked into him, and yeah, at least one of his books, at least on Amazon, is categorized as more cyberpunk.
I could see that writing style working great for a cyberpunk novel.
Oh, I am abusing my cortex badly by reading through the entirety of Marvel's 2099 comic book universe. Every single issue of it. And I finally got to the point where they introduced Ghost Rider 2099. And Ghost Rider 2099 is originally a hacker in a cyberspace world who dies and is given a android body. So he's actually the tape of a man's brain in the body of an android. And whoever started writing it really, really, really loves Neuromancer. And so they've gone out of their way to stick Neuromancer style language into the comic, and they do it badly. Oh, USA Today. So it's terrible. So when you're saying it might work for Cyberpunk, I'm just imagining Ghost Rider 2099 over and over and over again.
You traumatize yourself too much.
I have got a lengthy excerpt from Chapter 3, courtesy of USA Today, that I'm going to brutally, viciously, and cruelly inflict on our listening audience. Are you ready?
Oh boy.
Akiva has always had Imperials, just not occupying ones, as with many of the worlds on the Outer Rim, wheeling on their axes at the edges of known space. Imperials used the planet but could never, perhaps would never, stake an official claim. These exoplanets were beasts too rough, too wild, too strange to ever be brought under the Galactic Empire's yoke when the Imperials came here. It was for reasons often personal: the drink, the spice, the smoke, the gambling, the black market goods. Or maybe just to sightsee the wild faces and unmet aliens that cross paths at this outpost of miscreants and deviants. All of that is what brought him here. Sinjir Rathbellis, Imperial Loyalty Officer. Well, ex-Imperial Loyalty Officer. The galactic tide swept him here and washed him up on this planet of wild jungles and jagged mountains, this place of black volcanoes and glass sand beaches. Here he sits, same seat at the same bar, in the same back alley quadrant of Mira, with the same Mon Calamari bartender pushing drinks across the Oka wood bar top, nursing a Sashin leaf mead, golden sweet, tastes like a cross between a gibbet fruit and oi-ois, those little red berries his mother used to pick. This is his third of the day, and the sun's only been up a few hours. Already his head is like a fly in a sticky spider's web, struggling and trying to fly free before ultimately failing and giving in to fatal torpor. His head feels gummy, swimmy, boggy. I want to read that last sentence again, because it's that last sentence that first drew my attention. His head feels gummy, swimmy, boggy, while at the same time being like a fly in a sticky spider's web.
So he's a big fan of adjectives.
Indeed.
I'm sorry, folks, if that caused you actual psychic damage. I apologize. Oh man, I'm almost crying here.
Actually, the rest of it drove me nuts too, and this is actually just my general problem with sci-fi and fantasy stuff ever, because it had the form of like reasonable prose, like he's talking about a place and this guy, and then like as soon as he gets to the guy's name, it's some wacky Star Wars universe name, and then you're supposed to know that the Mon Calamari's the Admiral Akbar's species, right? And so if you don't know anything about Star Wars, you're just listening to that. I'm like, what is he talking about? It sounds like he's describing a South Pacific island paradise where some washed. This could be a story about an ex-Japanese officer is spending his retirement, in some Southeast Asian island, but then it's just dropped in. All the names have been replaced with Star Wars wacky names, and it just sounds fake and terrible.
Just that it's just terrible. That's bad writing. That is bad, terrible, terrible bad writing. I don't know. I guess maybe he was just trying to see. Here's the thing. There's a difference between someone who's a writer, someone trying to deliver the best book possible, and a writer who's trying to impress an imaginary audience to make themselves, make their talent as a writer, seem like they are hot shit. He just went in for the hot shit option. He's trying to make people think he's hot shit because he's literary. He's literary. And so he's going at the Star Wars material, not like those common plebs might go after their common science fiction and fantasy novels, but like an artist might go after. It's just like, dude, get over yourself, man. I'm sorry, I was done.
No, no need to apologize. Yes, I'm looking at Zeros, a novel. Yes, that's what it's called, Zeros, a novel. By Chuck Wendig. It's got...
Just in case you mistook it for a music video, a television show, or a bag of Smarties. Just in case he wants to clarify that.
Yeah, can you help us out with that, Brian? Why do books have to have a novel on the cover?
Well, they don't.
I see it all the time.
They don't. That's a choice. That's an intelligent choice made by someone. Now, here's the thing. I don't think this was self-published, so chances are that Mr. Wendig has zero control over the cover or even the title of his books. Yeah, it's from Harper. Okay. So yeah, I would blame that on Harper. Gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's well reviewed. It's got 77 reviews, 4 out of 5 stars. It's firmly in. It's basically they're calling it sort of in the vein of CSI meet Cyberpunk. So, okay. And again, I can see that kind of writing style working for Cyberpunk, but not a good fit for Star Wars.
No. I'm sorry, that's just so terrible. I did not know how terrible this book was. I just wasn't interested in it. And I don't have enough time to pay close attention to things that just don't catch my interest. So I didn't pay close attention to how terrible this book was. That's so bad. We got 2 minutes left in the show before we have to take off. Any last thoughts?
I'm still gonna see the Star Wars movie.
Oh yeah, I will. I want to see Creed and the new Mockingjay in the theater, so I'm hoping to go sometime next week.
Now let us know what you think.
No last thoughts?
I think you've scoured every cogent thought from my head with that excerpt. Thanks, I can start over.
Hit reboot. It's like a crashed the OS, time to reboot.
Yep, blue screen of death.
I keep on thinking. What I'm thinking is, and this may betray the fact that I'm a fan of his, but I keep on thinking how much cooler that book would have been if they'd given it to Larry.
Oh, Larry writing Star Wars.
Would that not be awesome?
I don't know. How much time would he spend going into the details of the space blasters they were using?
Not enough.
Not nearly enough. That's
Oh, I'm lucky. I have Kleenex right by my desk here.
I'm going to talk to Larry about that and see if he's interested in writing a like a sci-fi space opera, because I think that would be awesome.
Okay, but here's the thing that kills me about Larry, because I did pick up Monster Hunter International and read that when it was for free because I'm cheap like that. But I read it, and since we had spoken with Larry long before I read it, I recognized the main character immediately as Larry.
Yeah.
He's not even hiding it.
No.
So I have a hard time picturing Larry the space smuggler or Larry the Jedi Padawan. I couldn't do that.
See, he doesn't do that in his other books, though. Like, the main character in the Grim Noir series is a psychotic teen girl.
That sounds believable. But I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that he wouldn't do that to the Star Wars universe. Although, come on, if Disney said, "Okay, Daddy Warpig, we want you to pen the next in the Star Wars series, the official canon. We might even make a movie out of it." Could you resist?
I would give it my best shot.
And could you resist putting yourself in there? Come on now.
Oh, no, I wouldn't put myself in there. Nah.
Are you, yeah,
Seriously, no. I wouldn't even a little bit.
Definitely not a warlike species of aliens that kind of vaguely sort of resemble swine.
I might stick in an alien species of war pigs. That would be funny. Intelligent, but they would end up like brown Gamorrean guards is brown furry Gamorrean guards. But yeah, not as tubby as Gamorrean guards, but vicious. That I might do. That would be funny.
You do the Romulan Vulcan thing where you say that they speciated. They had the same ancestor.
Yeah.
They did that with the Duro and the Neimoidians already, so there's a precedent in Star Wars, so that could work.
Well, okay, so it's my official promise that if Disney ever approaches me to write a Star Wars novel, I promise you I will make one of the alien species war pigs under probably a different name. Okay.
Yes.
You heard it here, folks.
Thanks for tuning in to Geek Gab. Sunday, November 29th, 2015. Not quite our one-year anniversary, but close enough. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you're looking forward to a happy Merry Christmas and Christmas season. So thanks for tuning in. We will be here in about a week on Saturday, probably sometime. So tune back in. Check us out because Dorrinal, Brian Niemeier, and me, Daddy Warpig, are signing off for today. But don't worry, we will be back.